Hello and welcome to another motorcycle review. This time around it's my Honda CRF250L and it's my summer review after 1,000 miles of riding around bumpy roads and beautiful little green lanes in northern London, UK. So just under 1,000 miles in. So let's go through some of the good and bad points. So the engine. Okay, it's not the most exciting engine in the world. Actually, it's probably one of the least exciting engines in the world, but it's got enough power to do the job, and it does that job fabulously well, you know, whether it's on the road or whether you're on green lanes. And you know, it's a very confidence-inspiring engine when you're on slippery surfaces. You know, it's not going to leap out of your hands, you know, it's not going to squirt the back end round unexpectedly. So for all those reasons, you know, it's great. Of course, it is lacking a little bit of excitement, especially if you've ridden enduro bikes before in the past. From a chassis perspective, I think this is one of the one of the shining lights of the bike. The chassis is extremely balanced. And what do I mean by balance? Well, you know, when you stood up on the pegs or you sat down on the road, it feels right, it feels neutral. And particularly when you're on gravelly, muddy stuff and you stood up on the pegs, it's so balanced that, you know, it actually feels like a cross between an enduro bike and a trials bike. You know, it feels good when it's kind of moving about between your legs, and you always feel as though you're in control. And I think the chassis has got a lot to do with that, and in particular the steering is just beautiful. Coming on to the brakes, I think the brakes are great, really beautiful, really progressive, you know, which is just what you need when you're on gravel and kind of like snotty stuff. So, you know, those three things are just spot on for what I want to use the bike for. Okay, coming on to kind of, you know, the things that get a little bit of criticism with the CRF. So the suspension, yeah, it's like soft as a Mr. Whippy ice cream. I mean, you can't get any air, and I'd love to try and get a little bit of air, but you will bottom it out. And I reckon, like, even if you weighed as much as a dormouse, you'd probably bottom it out on a jump. It's really that soft. What it does do is it kind of makes me almost ride it, you know, like a trials bike, so I pick my way around things as opposed to trying to jump over them. But it's probably top of my list to get sorted, the suspension, so I'll be doing that over the winter. Probably the other thing which gets written about a lot with the CRF is the weight. Now, do I find the weight a problem? No, I don't find the weight a problem. Is it too heavy? It's not too heavy for what I want to use it for, which is mellow green laning. And the other reason is that, you know, I've said it many times before, I've got the upper arm strength of like a 7-year-old girl called Susan. You know, even if the thing weighed as much as a mince pie and I dropped it, I probably wouldn't be able to lift it up. So my modus operandi when riding the bike is not to fall off and not to drop it. Does that mean that I ride carefully? Yeah, I ride carefully, because most of the time, or all of the time, you know, actually all of the time, you know, I'm riding on my own, and I don't want to fall off in the middle of nowhere into a big cow pat and wait to be rescued. So I ride carefully, and for that reason, the weight of the bike for me isn't a deal breaker. It's not a big problem. Sure, if you want to go faster, and you know, you're going into some really tough terrain, yes, I can absolutely see that the weight will be a problem. For what I'm doing, and hopefully you can see some of that in the video, the weight really isn't a problem. So to sum up then, the CRF250L is just a ton of fun, a complete ton of fun. And I think the main reason for that is that I feel as though I'm getting the absolute most I can from the bike. Probably with respect to my skills on trails, I feel as though I'm probably a little bit better than the bike. That's probably a conceit, but that's how it feels. So I always feel as though I'm extracting the maximum capability out of the bike, and maybe sometimes exceeding it, you know, which is a really nice feeling. It's really satisfying, and it just makes the bike a lot of fun. I feel as though I can go anywhere. There's no stress, no drama. I enjoy everything. It's really quiet. It looks great. It's good fun. I mean, what more could you want? Really fabulous bike. Highly recommended. I've had a great summer on it. And I'm actually looking forward to the winter, you know, to do some snow and ice, and that will be my next video. So I hope that helps. So the Honda CRF250L, highly recommended. Cheery bye.